Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We've got, looks like a beautiful day ahead. The sun is out. The weather's warming up. Hopefully, spring and summer is on its way. Got several things we wanted to cover for you today, but we do have a couple of speakers. Our first one is Emily Varney from the U.S. Census Bureau. We had Emily on, oh boy, probably been about a month now, giving an update on the census and certainly encouraging Shiawassee County residents, businesses, employers to participate in promoting the census. And we've got some good information, some good news, I think, regarding that participation level. But I wanted to give Emily the opportunity to come on and give you all an update on where things stand with the census, where we stand in Shiawassee County, and see what we can still do to help push forward. So, Emily, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
I was on. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you're good, okay. Emily. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, so I was on your call about a month ago, I think it was, and talking about encouraging, people throughout the county to respond. So I wanted to kind of give you an update on what the county is looking like at this point. The county as a whole, Shiawassee County, is at a 71% response rate as of yesterday. With that being said, there are a few areas of concern that are much, much lower than that. That area is the Vernon area for sure. And then following right behind Vernon is Perry, Morris, Langsburg, Byron, Bancroft. Those areas are still performing relatively low. With that said, we have some extremely high performing areas, which should be noted. Bennington, Middlebury, and New Haven, Venice, those areas are doing very well. So with the counteract of those two, that's how the county gets a 71% response rate, which is good. I will share with you that the state of Michigan is at 65.3%, so you're performing above average, the state average. A couple things to note, since we last talked, the timeline for the census has been extended by 120 days from its original timeline. So what would have been happening at this point in time prior to COVID-19 was that we would have already started our non-response follow-up with door-to-door work for people that had not responded. That operation has been pushed back by 120 days. So what that means is that it's not too late for people to self-respond to the census. We still want to encourage people to do so. And what that's looking like, I can tell you what a lot of people are doing to try to encourage self-response. There are, throughout several counties in certain areas, the school districts are really helping to push by putting flyers in the meal programs or the boxes that they're sending out for their meal programs on the census, mentioning that having the distributors, the volunteers that are distributing the food boxes, mention the census or ask if people have done it. A lot of superintendents have really been advocates for us by sending out messages, personalized messages for their district saying, this is important to our school. We receive funding from it. Please make sure you respond. A lot of business owners are emailing their employees or staff lists and saying, if you haven't done this, please do it. Places that are still open are putting up flyers or putting up posters or passing out flyers, that type of thing. So everyone that has helped us with that effort, I want to thank you sincerely. I think that it's showing in your response rates that the community has come together and worked on this. If anyone is able to, it has an audience and is able to assist with that, I would definitely, provide you the materials to do so. I think that I had emailed a bunch of those materials to Justin about a month ago, so he has them. If, and any of you are welcome to email me directly and I can work with you directly to take care of that as well. And Justin, I don't mind if you want to share my email with the group after this call. That might be helpful so people could contact me. But I did want to just give you that update. We do have extra time. The field workers that go door to door to collect collect the response from the non-responders, that will now be happening towards the end of June. So there's a little bit of time for people to continue to self-respond. Some people have thought, oh, it's too late, I missed it. That is not true. We can still respond, so we still want to urge people to do that. So with that, unless anyone has any questions, I'll hand it back over.
Thank you, Emily, and really interesting statistic. Very proud of this. We are doing much better than our state average, though Michigan is actually tied for fourth right now in terms of state rankings, just behind Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa. We're actually tied with Nebraska. The Big Ten states are doing very well, apparently. But I think what's even more telling is Shiawassee County is actually tied for 127th best county in America for response rate. Now, there's over 3,000 counties in America, and we're 127 right now. So I think that's pretty darn good. Very proud of what our stakeholders have done in Shiawassee. So I wanted to make sure we share that too. So, but, we could always be number one, right? So let's keep pushing. Emily, one thing and we've talked about it before, but I think it's important for the listeners. Why is this so important? I mean, what do the numbers mean? We know money flows into our community as a result, but really, why are we doing this? What are the economic advantages of this?
Sure. So a couple things to mention before I get into the economic part is that the census results are used to determine for redistricting and representation in Congress. So I know that those things are important to us, maybe now more than ever. A lot of things have changed and brought different things to the forefront of people's minds. So that is something that we want to make sure that you are represented in Congress the way that you should be. But in addition to that, there's over $675 billion of federal funding that is allocated based on census results. And that is funding that goes towards everything from roads to school programming to public safety and, clinics, healthcare, that type of thing. So all of the things services that we use, SNAP benefits, Medicare and Medicaid, services that we use at some point on a daily basis are funded through the census results, the numbers in your community. So we really want to make sure that your community gets allocated to them, what should be allocated to them. So that's where the economic standpoint comes in. For this group, I do want to mention also that some of the funding that I'm talking about is for small businesses, for economic development, and for small business relief. So I think, obviously, as I talked before, that more than ever, healthcare is important to us, or more people will be using some of these services than ever before. You may find yourself in a position now where the small business aspect is more important to you than it was before. So that's kind of what we're all pulling together for, is to make sure that the funding gets where it should be.
Hey, Justin, Rick Holds here. I got a question on the census.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
I've been getting a lot of emails regarding census.gov Business Pulse, and I didn't know if that was real or not. Is that something that's put on by the census, or is that a scam that's going around?
Actually, yes, that is something that the Census Bureau has done. It is not the decennial count that I was talking about with these numbers today, but they have since over the last couple months, because of the COVID-19 issue, started a new survey that is aimed at small businesses. So a lot of you may get these to respond to. And what they're trying to find out, they're calling them pulse surveys, and they're trying to find out the impact to your business and to your community and to you personally, financially, from the COVID-19 issue. So definitely that is something that you want to respond to. Those pulse surveys are, the results go to Congress for decision making and that type of thing. So I definitely encourage response. If anyone gets that, please go ahead and respond to that. It is legitimate.
Good question. Any other comments or questions for Emily? Hit *6 on your phone. Anything else for Emily? *6. Okay. Well, Emily, thank you. Keep up the great work. I will send your contact information out, and we'll send out some additional information. We do have some flyers, as Emily mentioned. We'll get that included in the email to you as well. So, and once again, thank you to those who participated. So, okay. Before we go to the regular agenda, we do have another speaker, my friend Bob Rogers. He's been a regular listener and participating caller on these for the last several weeks. But the reason I wanted Bob to talk today is, as you know, we are featuring businesses that can offer either products or solutions to help companies reopen with personal protective gear and other things of that nature. And Bob has, and I won't steal his thunder, but Bob has access to some masks that could be of benefit to companies in the area as they work to reopen. So I wanted Bob to come on and talk about what he has available. So Bob, can you talk about what masks you have and all the details with that? Oh, make sure to hit *6 too, Bob. Bob, you there? Hit *6. Well, we might have lost Bob. I heard him on earlier. So, Bob, if you can hear me, just hit *6 and chime in. And is that you there?
Are you there now?
Yeah. There you go. There's Bob.
Apparently, if you push the one on your automobile, since I'm traveling, it doesn't do the same thing as the one on your cell phone. So, anyways, I'm here. I thought that was really good. First, I knew that Emily might have something that we could put in a little payroll package or get off to all of our employees. Be more than willing to include something in their weekly if we knew what that was. So that'll be great to do.
Great.
Justin, as you know and most know, we built a plant here in Lanesburg. We pelletize products for the ag industry, and we've been using the N95 3M Mac Daddy, if you will, mask for 2 years now. And I think we were paying $1.30 a piece. They were delivered right to our door. And of course, COVID-19 happened and they quit selling them to us, and I still have a plant to run. So Michelle is a Chinese American, lived here 26 years as a citizen, has some connections in China, and I don't know, it doesn't matter what your thoughts are about China or not, but we have access to very, very high quality KN95 masks, which after receiving sent to the CDC, they have them double checked, if you will, and they test over 99%. So I'm not in the mask selling business, but Michelle has access to 20, 30,000 masks, and we're shipping them to dental facilities, and we're shipping them to people in Florida and people here and people there. So if anybody has some interest, feel free to contact me, and I'll hook you up with Michelle, or I can give you her number direct. If you got your pencil out, it's 586-960-4225, or her new website is called BODA-USAPPE.com, and BODA is BODA-USAPPE.com. She also has a limited supply of gloves and some not infrared, what's the word I'm looking for, sanitation type, the ultraviolet sanitation devices for sanitizing surfaces. We use a big commercial one here at our plant twice a day, and it sterilizes everything, countertops, doorknobs, fax machines, telephones, all that kind of stuff. So, but that's about it. If we can help anybody in the county, we'd love to do it. I wish they were $1.28, but they're not. The air freight from China is horrendous right now, but depending on which product and the quantity, they're somewhere between $3 and $5. So, but that's about it, Justin. Thanks for your time, and hopefully it helps somebody.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. So you have access, you said 30,000 masks?
I think she's got 30 or 40,000 masks. Some of the medical grade, hospital type, and some are the KN95 type.
Okay. So these are just so the listeners on the call know. So there are sort of the regular, just everyday cloth masks that are being, made by people that people just probably wear in the grocery store. But these are the step up from that, right? The 95 ones. So
yeah, these have got the melt blown fabric in them, and they will filter out 95%. I'm not to go into a whole class about masks here, but I believe, as many do, that the mask isn't so much to protect you from sucking in the virus, so to speak, but it's to keep you from spreading the virus out in the air. The cloth mask, the homemade mask, do that to a certain extent. These will do it to a greater extent. And these others also, if worn properly, will protect you from the impact of the virus coming inward as well. So that's my in a nutshell explanation.
Well, and I'll be, I guess, a testimonial for it. I'm actually using one of the masks that Bob has. I've been using it now when I'm out in public and shopping, and it's a really good mask. It's very, very quality. So that's just a little testimonial for you there, Bob. Well, thank you for jumping on. Once again, if any companies on the phone want these masks, either for themselves or for their employees, what's the best phone number to reach?
The best thing would probably be just to call my cell phone or Michelle's phone. Mine is, of course, the 810-560-9077, and Michelle's is 586-960-4225.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bob. So, yeah, if anyone wants to talk to Bob about those masks, please get a hold of them. And we're going to continue to feature different companies in the area that make products. Tomorrow, we will have a representative from National Composites on the phone in Owasso Charter Township. They are making face shields. And I know a few businesses in downtown Owasso have already shown interest. I know Abiding in the Vine is already using them. So we'll have a rep tomorrow talking about face shields that they have available for companies. Along with that, we are trying to wrap up our database of companies that do provide these products and services. We want to email out to all of you a spreadsheet of this information with the contact names, the products, the quantities, so you have that to refer to, sort of a local business database as you're looking to make acquisition in the future for your employees. So I know we've got, Jody, how many companies have we had respond now? How many are we up to?
I think I've had 7 respond at this point.
7, okay. So if you've not responded, please do so, ideally by the end of the day. We want to get this out probably by tomorrow. So thank you, Bob, and appreciate what you're doing. Okay, a few other things. Just sent out prior to this call an email regarding a webinar that was held yesterday on PPP loan forgiveness. As we've been talking on the call, we're kind of transitioning from trying to get companies the money to now you got the money. How do we do this right so we get reimbursed and we don't have to, it turns into a grant basically. We don't have to pay it back as a loan. So Jody in our office participated on that webinar, got a lot of good information out of it. So I'd like to have Jody talk for just a couple of minutes on what some of those highlights were of that webinar, and then you can watch the webinar for yourself afterwards. So Jody, can you go ahead?
Sure. So the webinar was put on by UHY advisors, they're tax and business consultants, and they explain in great detail. So if you have received PPP loan money, I would definitely watch the webinar recording that Justin sent, because they explain in great detail how to fill out the forms, what you need to do to definitely get your forgiveness. But what I want to provide you today is just a little bit of information. Not everything has been set in stone yet. They're still trying to decide whether the 8-week period for the loan funds is going to be extended, because the stay-at-home order had been extended in several places. So they're still trying to work through some things. There's no actual definition of a full-time employee calculation in the current act, so they're trying to work through that as well. So there are some things they're working through, but what they recommend is that you follow a few guidelines to make sure you're on the right track once these things are set. So first, they recommend that you establish a separate bank account. So if you have not already done that, it's not required, but they recommend it because these loans and the documentation that you have to provide will be scrutinized quite closely. So what they recommend is a separate bank account, so only expenses for this PPP loan are coming out of that loan or out of that account. They talk about preparing an 8-week forecast showing the uses of the proceeds and identifying in advance the recurring expenses that will qualify for forgiveness. Calculate your full-time employees during the applicable measurement period. So there are a couple of different measurement periods, and I'll go over those in just a moment. Calculate your payroll for the employees during the most recent full quarter. Obviously, here you're looking at 8 weeks, and the quarter is going to be more 12 to 13. But you want to look at what your expenses were for payroll for the most recent quarter. Estimate your full-time employees and payroll reductions, and then document all of your expenses. They're talking about completing a spreadsheet to track all of your expenses, the qualified expenses, canceled checks, keep bank statements. So there is no guideline on exactly what documentation is going to be required for some of these things yet. So keep everything you think you may need. And you can work with your lender if you have questions in the meantime. Let me scroll back up here in my notes here real quick. So they talked about a few definitions that you want to understand. So the covered period is, at this time, the 8 weeks starting immediately once the loan was dispersed by the lender. They're talking about trying to extend it. They don't know for sure if that's going to happen, but because of the stay-at-home order being extended, they're hoping to expand that as well. The full-time equivalent, like I said, there's nothing that specifically tells what that equivalent is within the Act, the CARES Act, but the IRS within the ACA defines a full-time employee as anyone who works over 30 hours a week. So they're kind of using that guideline right now. So if you're trying to calculate how many full-time employees you have, you would count, they give the example of 2 part-time employees who work 15 hours a week would count as 1 full-time employee. So however many employees it takes to get to that 30 hours would count as 1. And then the measurement periods that they're talking about, there was a February 15th, 2019 to June 30th, 2019. So you're going to have to know how many full-time employees or the equivalent of full-time employees you had during that period, as well as January 1st of 2020 to February 29th of 2020. And those numbers are going to be used in calculating your forgiveness. I know it's probably a little confusing at this time, but like I said, if you go into, I would watch the webinar if you've received your money, and it gives great detail. It actually shows you exactly how to fill out forms and create spreadsheets that will calculate everything that you need. There are allowable uses for the forgiveness portion, which is payroll costs. It can be gross cash compensation earned payable to employees, vacation, sick, or other leave, dismissal or separation pay, health insurance costs minus the employee reimbursement, retirement plan contributions, and state and local employment taxes. Excluded would be if somebody works in the U.S. but resides outside of the U.S., you can't actually count that. I'm trying to see. And then non-payroll costs that can be applied to the 25% portion of the loan would be interest on mortgages, real estate property and personal property. It excludes the principal, rent payments, utility payments. They're still trying to decide exactly what utility payments include. Transportation is in question, so they're trying to work through that. And then interest on any other indebtedness. So all of these things are your non-payroll costs that can count towards the 25% that can be used for that loan. The other 75 has to be the payroll expenses. And I did hear from on the webinar, they basically said there are a lot of things still in question. Once there is more clarity, once documentation has been determined, all of these details, they will probably hold another webinar. So I will watch for that to try to get a little bit more clarification. But at this time, they're just recommending you get started with the bank account, with the documentation, so you are prepared once they have that final say, and you can get your full forgiveness.
Jody, I had a message from someone asking, they said they watched the webinar and there were some good spreadsheets in there, or templates. Are we going to be able to get access to those to share with everybody?
I will check the email they sent me to see if that's included. If not, I will request them. I'll email to see if I can get those.
Okay. And we did send out a few weeks ago, thanks to our friend Mike at Beechcraft, a spreadsheet template as well to be able to track. And as always, obviously this is through your lending institution, so please be in constant communication with them as you work through this. Jody, anything else on that?
I did want to point out, I know Brent has talked a couple of times recently about if you make an offer for somebody to come back to work and they decline, it will not be counted against your forgiveness as long as you have documentation showing that you did make that offer. If they decline, you need documentation from them as well. But from what I understand from the webinar yesterday, in order to get the forgiveness, you don't have to have the same employees. If a couple decline, you are able to hire somebody new. You have to have the same number of employees as you did in the periods that I had explained, but they don't have to be the same employees. So you're able to make some changes there and still get your forgiveness. But I will also work on getting those spreadsheets and sending those over to you, Justin.
Okay. Wow. Great detail, Jody. I do have a couple more things, but I know this is important for a lot of you, so I do want to open it up right now. If anyone has any comments or questions for Jody on the PPP loan forgiveness, go ahead and ask them now. Hit *6, please, if you have any comments or questions for Jody on that item. Anybody have anything on that? Okay, well, thank you, Jody, for that. And yes, check your email. I sent out a copy of the webinar earlier this morning, so feel free to watch that. And if you do need anything else, please let us know. Actually, there is another webinar coming up today. Jody, you're going to be on it. We mentioned it yesterday and last week regarding remote hiring. Is that correct?
Yes. That will be at 10 o'clock today, so I can give some updates tomorrow on that.
Okay, so that's another item as we've been talking. As you look to reopen, being able to talk to job candidates, this could be a method to be able to do that through teleconferencing and whatnot. So we'll have more on that tomorrow. Jody, anything else?
Actually, I am just getting into it. There is the webinar today through SBDC, PPP and other financing options for your relaunch. So if that's something anybody's interested in, that's available today. And it looks like tomorrow, bringing your employees back to work is the webinar that they have. So I will send those links over to you right now, Justin, so you can forward those out in case anybody's interested in participating.
Very good. Thank you, Jody.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, very good. Just a couple of other things real quick. Nothing hugely new. I do want to reiterate that for those who were on the call yesterday, actually, if you weren't on the call yesterday, we had Lee Sherry from the Economic Development Administration talk to us about $1.5 billion they have in new funding, specifically $225 million for our region for community and economic development projects. It's not for-profit business. It would be for communities, governments, local governments, as well as local nonprofits for initiatives that would help stimulate our economic recovery, including public infrastructure, strategic planning, other things of that nature. So I think we definitely want to look at that opportunity to be able to apply for some funding to help with that. So I'm going to keep bringing that up. If anyone has any ideas or would like to pursue that, please let me know. Also, I'm going to mention this every day now, Memorial Healthcare. As we heard from the CEO, Brian Long, last week, they have testing capacity available to support companies as they work to reopen both the virus testing itself, but also the antibody testing is available to see if people have had the virus and have developed any immunity to it. So if you as a company are looking to provide that testing to your workers to create a greater level of comfort as they go back to work, that is available. They can actually come on site and do that. It's $50 a test, and all you need to do is call them at 989-720-2131, 989-720-2131, and they can get you set up for that. So I've had several companies inquire about that, so I want to keep reiterating that test opportunity. And then finally, as always, talking about jobs, we've got a few companies we've been trying to help promote jobs. If you have positions that you're trying to fill, please do let us know. So with that, I think that's pretty much it. For now, does anyone have any comments or questions on anything discussed or anything new? Hit *6 on your phone. Any comments or questions? Okay. Well, once again, thank you everybody for tuning in today. We will be back in the morning. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Mike Gillette from Beechcraft.
Hey,
Mike.
I just
wanted for the group that was out there, it appears that I might be the victim of identity theft associated with the unemployment agency. Someone used my Social Security number to try to obtain unemployment benefits. The only time that I put out my Social Security number is when I applied for the Paycheck Protection Program. So I guess I warn everybody to be mindful of that. Second, Ben Frederick's office has been very helpful to me. They're trying to chase this thing down and also report the fraud because you can't get through to UIA regarding this. So I guess watch your letters that come back. Make sure that things are happening the way they're supposed to happen. Like I said, that was the only time I put out my Social Security number. So
wow,
it's pretty limited. I just don't know where or when. And ironically, the person that applied had 3 of my previous employment locations. So they must have gotten some information from me.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you for sharing, Mike. And yes, everybody, please be vigilant.
Very good. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike. Any other comments or questions from anyone?
Justin,
yeah,
we had a paper from unemployment that said that Josh had tried to apply for unemployment. So we've had that happen too. And of course, he didn't apply. So, so that's happened again. So just
all
be
right.
vigilant for it.
That's good. Jody, I know you've been kind of keeping tabs on a lot of that stuff for us. Can you see if you get any more news and maybe we can give an update on our call tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you guys for sharing. Anything else before we wrap up? Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow, same time.